Welcome back. Well, as part of efforts to curb substance abuse in the country, the Senate has approved a bill prescribing the death sentence for persons found guilty of drug trafficking. The new bill amends Section 11 of the NDLEA Act, which prescribes that anyone who, without lawful authority, found importing, manufacturing, producing, processing, planting, or growing the drugs popularly known as cocaine or heroin shall be sentenced to life imprisonment. Well, that was the initial penalty, but the Senate noted in its proceedings that the new bill is crucial to safeguarding the future of the youth and essentially curb the consumption of hard drugs among the younger generation. And while there are many approvals from Nigerians over this new move, talking about the death penalty proposed by the Senate, others are asking, will it reduce the rate of drug abuse in the country? We've got with us in the studio the CEO, Compassionate Care Recovery Initiative, Dr. Dokun. Adedeji has, been intensively, following through. You've been on a mission for so long. Absolutely rehabilitating, drug addicts. And of course, there's also the issue of how we can get the larger population to, also, stop the abuse of drugs. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Dokun.
Thank you for
on the program. Welcome. But where do you stand in all of this in terms of the motive of senators? And as they have also observed, as you must have, despite the exploits of the NDLEA, there is still a concern on the spate of drug trafficking in the country. And so this tough move.
If you ask me for my personal opinion, for anything, I don't like the death sentence. It's too final. It's too sledgehammer-ish.
Even for the murder, if one is found guilty of murder and all of that?
No. I call it a variation. I think the judge should have a flexibility of determining the gravity and the extent of imposing a judgment than to just have a blanket view. Do you know that the NDLEA has gotten people to court? About 9,000 people have been imprisoned because of this. Are you saying to me that they will have killed 9,000 people? Hey, excuse me. I think that Nigerians do not have a deep understanding of the social dynamics of substance use and the perverseness. Right. I think when we know the fundamentals, my problem with Nigeria is we jump at things and we just do a sledgehammer. We never sit down to gauge what exactly is giving rise to this. What can we do beyond so judgmental a situation? And I'm sure most of the senators are just thinking, oh my God, this is bad. Maybe they know a few people and the kind of things that are happening with the criminal tendencies. And they say, why not do this? I don't agree. I don't agree with that kind of, I'm sure the president is not likely to sign, not because he won't want to sign, but I'm sure there should still be a synchronization of the bill between the House of Rep and Senate and then listening to public opinion. Yes, it's nice to do something, but not too draconian, that it will drive the sale and the business underground beyond the... How much can NDLEA do? NDLEA has maximum, let's say, 150,000. They don't have 150 staff. Are they going to be at parties? Are they going to be all over the borders? Are they going to take the job of the custom? You see, the important thing is to understand what is giving rise to this. What are the things we need to understand? And then we give power to those people empowered to do it. And then we get a better, I don't agree with that penalty.
Well, it's expected that you will not agree, looking at the fact that you are the CEO of a Compassionate Care and Recovery Initiative. But then you said, we should look at the variation. Maybe some should be administered death sentence, maybe not all, because there are some people that are actually persuaded or influenced by peer pressure, etc. Right. But then what if we look at those who are the peddlers, these drug peddlers, the drug traffickers, those who are selling? Because if there are no sellers, there won't be no buyers. So why shouldn't we, or why do you not think we should treat those who, serve as couriers, for these drugs, as against those who actually imbibe it?
Let me help you understand what I stand for. Users never should be punished because they are victims of circumstances. But people who peddle, who manufacture, they should be punished, but not in a draconian manner. You know, what I'm saying is this. A nation should understand. Why? Do you know some of the things that give rise to the things we see? The monetization of our values. Our value system is gone. People get, you emblazon them on the pages of newspapers as being very rich people. Where did they make their money from? We don't query those things. We don't look at the things that give rise to the breakdown in the social values. If you kill people, does it stop those people? The higher the risk, the more involved people want to get. Death sentence has been for armed robbery. Don't we still have armed robbery? Even in Singapore, even in Thailand, even in Malaysia where they kill.
Or it will reduce it to bare minimum.
You think so, because there's no empirical data to say it reduces it. Because you know one thing I always say, when something is drug, let me give you an example, very salient example. When they were talking about codeine, oh, they banned codeine. Are you telling me they don't sell codeine? They sell codeine, but they sell it to the people they understand, who appreciate their business, and they sell it for a higher rate because if you are going to get me into trouble with codeine, then I must take a higher risk. So the thing for me, it's not that the compassionate thing is about people who use, but I'm against people who sell. I'm against people who peddle. Most of the people that carry it are mules. They don't even know the next category hierarchy. They do it for business. See, our situation is this. If you go out to the various joints where they use it, you will see people who do these things.
Well, you're looking at those who use it. With compassionate, from the compassionate perspectives. But what about those who use it? They intended to perpetrate crime, but they need this as impetus, as a fillip, to activating whatever it is that
I thank you for.
You're looking at them with compassion.
No, I'm not. Let me understand. Let me tell you this thing. Those who use drugs, punish them for the crime they commit.
And what would be that right punishment?
If, for instance, I go to kill, then let the court decide me for murder or manslaughter or whatever, not because he has used the drugs. It's a very thin line, but it's not that I'm being permissive about this. But I just gave you statistics. Just imagine that the number of people the NDLEA has occasion to put before judgment and they've been jailed, would they have been killed? The thing that, why I say flexibility to the judges, which we should put in the bill or allow judges to use their discretion. If a man deals in drugs, like the people caught in VGC, who house a house, who is manufactured, that is deliberate. You deal with it, you look at the motives as well. Even in murder abroad, they look at motive. Why did he kill? Why did he do this? I'm saying, let us be very careful so that we do not start a thing that we now can control.
And talking about, apologies, Dr. Dokun.
Yes, ma'am.
The Senate, or the Senate committee in charge, also outlined some variables, some of which you have enumerated in your analysis so far. Before these amended penalties will be imposed on, the defendant, the type and quantity of the controlled substance, the criminal history of the defendant, and the intent behind these activities, aggravating circumstances such as organized crime, violence, use of offensive weapons. There's also the issue of the lack of criminal record, the lack or presence of criminal record if the person, like Ibrahim was saying earlier on, is a first-time offender or something like that. I wonder if this would be a fair assessment now, because as you have said, it's going to still fall on the jurisdiction of on the discretion of the judge, really, if you look at the intent.
I understand the variation that senators put, but they never can cover everything, one. And I'm worried, personally, not now because of being compassionate. I don't like death penalty. Go and read about the history of death penalty in America. A lot of people have been condemned that 47 years after they found out they didn't commit the offense. What if he had been killed? Even if you put the death penalty, which grudgingly we accept, then you give a lacuna of time. Is there an extenuating circumstance that could allow this person? I understand all that, but the Nigerian system. Let's not deceive ourselves. We will just use it to a point, and you will destroy the work that NDLEA is doing. NDLEA has done something that probably people don't understand. There's a process of interdiction, which is not allowing people bring or take out. And there's a process of DDR, drug demand reduction. They are now increasing the impetus of drug demand reduction. Because if people are aware, sufficiently aware and informed, they may not use. And if there is no user, there's no buyer, there will be no seller. You see, the thing is, what I'm craving for, I'm not saying they shouldn't put death penalty, but I will not support it, is that we should sit down and understand this. I've been in this for 31 years. I've seen the evolution of drug use and peddling. Do you see the dexterity, if I can put it, of people who peddle, who import? They put it in things that you never could believe. You will then see people taking higher risk because of the possibility. You know, if you carry this thing, you sell once, the money it brings. I'm saying, shall we sit down and look at the moral value of our people? How overnight should somebody become a billionaire and we call him a billionaire? Doing what? How much work has he done that I haven't done in my life? So we don't begin to query.
Are you indirectly now, supporting the notion that a crime such as corruption, if one is found guilty of corruption, that should be what should earn the death penalty, or even that you would also,
Look, for me, I've just said to you, I will not support death penalty in any form unless it's so gruesome and grievous what they've done. What I'm saying, for instance, why are we not touching corruption? Corruption has killed a lot of people in terms of no hospital, no roads, and everything. But the thing is not even the killing. You know what I think? If anybody is caught in corruption, seize everything he's made, take his money, put it in 5 years, and he comes out with not a dime. You understand? When we do those kind of things, for me, I think it's better than killing someone. It's too final, it's too draconian. That's my attitude to it.
Well, I'm still trying to make sense out of all of this because help us understand what the NDLEA has been, because those who are actually advancing the cause of, advancing the sentence, the death sentence for, drug offenders, they are actually overwhelmed and they're tired of, seeing drug seizures, people perpetrating. If you look at terrorists, they also, perpetrate their evil acts, kidnappers and all of that, under the influence of the drugs, even though they had the intention of doing all of this. So they probably are overwhelmed and they want to see an end to this. So are you saying that the current measures we adopted or currently using are yielding results, so much so that we do not need death sentence?
I can tell you for free that the NDLEA in the last 5 years have secured better results than since it started because of the understanding of General Marwa. He sat down to understand the dynamics of this thing, and that's why you see him do it. I'm sure he probably didn't, the NDLEA didn't send a suggestion of death penalty. They probably will have,
one made any statements about it.
No, they rather would not.
Because the spokesperson.
Yeah, because this is still, is not final.
Right.
It's not final. So they'll wait for the process to run itself out. But, the thing that some of us who know how these things have been is that a lot of success has been recorded. They may not make too much noise about it, but I think the area in which is now very focused is drug demand reduction. When we tell young people and all, those things will reduce. But the thing that we also know, you say hard drug. Tramadol is not hard drug. Injection pentazocine is not hard drug. Fentanyl is not hard drug, but they're used terribly. So they're abused terribly and people use it to go and commit crimes. Will you classify it as hard drug? Will you do a reclassification?
So it does not qualify under this.
Of course, it's not, because it's not a hard drug. It's not a hard drug.
Right.
But for instance, the manufacture, because for instance, you manufacture tramadol and you manufacture in the dosage of 50 milligram, 100 milligram, you're good.
Same as codeine.
Yes, but exactly, codeine is also a precursor for some drugs. So you can't totally ban it. And then if you then say people who manufacture tramadol, the manufacturing industry will be okay. But people who import it, who manufacture it, they do in the realm of 250 milligram, 200 milligram.
People who import it are not manufacturers.
No, they're not.
Should we not go after the manufacturers who are making this available?
If we catch them, yes, like the one in VGC that was manufacturing. In this country, also people who manufacture methylcrystal. So if we get those people, give them severity of punishment. You know, there's nobody that cannot change. When
the rest of punishment will mean?
For instance, if you catch me manufacturing methylcrystal, you jail me for 10 years, seize everything that I've ever worked for, my house, my everything. So when I come out from jail, I have nothing to live on. If we do things like that, and you know, but you know, we're very ingenious about criminality in Nigeria. What you then find is when somebody build houses or do those, they'll put in people's names.
That is why they need to be killed, don't you think so?
Killed?
Because when your thoughts when they come out, they won't have anything. But those who know that
no,
this is the,
you
this
see,
is the
Ibrahim,
of what will happen to
Ibrahim,
them, they will definitely want to look for ways to to circumvent the prescribed.
No, you see what I believe in. You know what I believe in? There's no man that is beyond redemption. I've seen it. There's no man, no matter how terrible.
In the midst of the what you prefer, you know, the suggestions you prefer as to the right punishment for these kind of people, there is a place for rehabilitation. Is that what you're saying?
For, obviously, but different from the user. I mean, if you can rehabilitate Boko Haram person, you put it in a place where, why
but
can't
these are people who opt for rehabilitation.
People too can opt, if you give them the option. Look, you see, I like also what you see there about graduate. If you then say, oh, I want to stop, and then they try to give you the, and then you do, then you can get something, and then we can give a proviso. If after this, and you still, then we do this. But you know, the thing we're doing, usually in this country, we're sledgehammer people, knee-jerk reaction. Oh, something happens, we just jump at it without understanding it. I think if they give General Marwa a lot of leeway with the things he's doing and pump money into NDLEA to help them do something, I'm sure you begin to see a drop. You begin to see a drop. Nigeria is not the only place where, yes, Nigeria probably in Africa has the highest rate of drug use. But, and then the importation. But you will notice that the importation has reduced drastically. And until we mop up the domesticated drugs available.
The homegrown production.
Absolutely. If somebody is growing marijuana in Ekiti, you put him to death. You know what America did in Afghanistan? They created a substituted opportunity to farm, and then people drifted to farming and they dropped opium. Those are some of the things we need to begin to think about. In this country, we don't like to really think. That's why we take on, you said something about being overwhelmed. So the next thing we just take the next step. That's not the way to live. Very soon you'll find out that, what about Yahoo? What about that? Then you begin to say, when you see this, because we get overwhelmed by the things because we did not look at the circumstances when they started. When some of us were talking about substance abuse 30, 32, 3 years ago, people thought we were joking. But one could see. Today is like, you can see it on the street. Because we were careless. So we are now paying for our carelessness by being draconian.
So, all right.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Ibrahim. Another notion is the fact that the last public execution, carried out on the death row inmates, was around 2012 or thereabout. We've seen how governors have been hesitant in signing the death warrant, though there is, that, assumption that let us sit out the appeal process. When the instant judge gives or hands down the death sentence, the defendant is still, entitled to appeal, Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court, and that could take years, really. But, naturally there is this, hesitance. So to what effect will this also serve? Or, like Ibrahim is saying now, could it also now ginger governors to now take it upon themselves to hastily sign the death warrant?
Did you read what the Commissioner for Justice of Ogun State said? He said, because this is within the purview of the federal government, the president will sign. Everybody wants to run away from things that take, I think it was a Shomole in Ondo State. In Ekiti, right. Ondo, Edo. It took him some time before signing. But like it did the same thing. It's difficult to just go sign. Do you know, maybe I should mention the man's name. There was a man who was an armed robber who was thrown into jail. He got converted. Today he's a pastor. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not, look, the thing about man is so intricate and you can't understand it. So we need to be careful. The life that we cannot create, we take it like that. I don't think so. I'm not so permissive that I allow anything to happen. But I like fundamental things. I like to understand why things do happen and what can we do. If we then try, you said something about Supreme Court. It means that we need to look at the judicial system. Why does it take donkey years to take care of cases that should be? Look at other countries. Ghana, before the election, or was it Kenya, before the president was, they had finished with it. Why does it take us time? Because of the games we play. Let us today review, the incidentals to the case is what you have just mentioned. Do we look at the circumstances surrounding it and not just drug? So that we can solve as many issues as possible, even by following this drug thing. Ibrahim, I'm not saying they shouldn't kill, but I'm saying, hey, you never know. You know, the day we begin to understand, when they catch somebody so close to the seat of power, or close to somebody in the seat of, you see what will happen. There will be the dragging of feet, and when there's a dragging of feet, then it's going to drag in the other place. Shall we sit down as a people and begin to understand our country? What is giving rise to the things that we're seeing? We talk about insecurity. With all these people also communicate. Why? Because nobody has a secure means of living. You can't eat. You may say, oh, it is not good for you, can't use that. There are a lot of people who can't stand what you stand. And so there's a tendency to be lured into things they never thought they could.
Because they want to survive.
Because they want to survive.
So if you look at other countries that are always debating,
death penalty.
Death penalty is trampling on fundamental human rights, right to live and all of that. U.S. is one of them. But if you go to states like California, Ohio, you see a lot of zombies on the street, due to overuse of drugs and all of that. And what is the motivation for people, for those who still peddle drugs, who still traffic drugs to countries like Qatar, China, Saudi Arabia, where certainly
despite the fact that they have
Ibrahim, exactly what I said to you about the higher the risk, the higher.
No, is it that they
reward?
don't know the consequence?
You think they don't know? They know. But if he doesn't get caught,
one dies once. That's what.
That's the thing. And the guy says, "My condition, which is better. I live under the bridge. I've not eaten in days. My kids can't go to school. If I do this thing once, for their sake." That's the thinking, perception. For their sake, I make $1 million. Why can't I take the risk? If they catch me, too bad, they will survive. I'm gone. You see, the human mind is so interesting. I mean, yes, I read medicine, and I've seen people. I've lived with people. I've stayed with people, and I understand this. I'm not careless about allowing them to continue, but I'm asking us as a people, do we know the desperation sometimes that leads people to do the things they do? That does not mean that we should pamper them. You understand what I'm saying? This drug thing is huge. And if NDLEA tells you they've convicted about 9,000, so are you telling me, for crying out loud?
So if it works, if incarceration is, if it really works, why someone goes to prison, correctional facility, comes out as a pastor, others going, they were not as hardened as they were before they were convicted.
Right. You know,
relative.
It's just about people. You sit here, you like dodo. I don't like dodo. Preferences and the choices that we make. And over the years, something had toughened. You know, let me tell you something that I've found out. When you see people misbehave, we say, oh, we don't understand. A man comes from a home that the father beats the mother. He lives under a condition that he can't pay school fees. Please, I don't want people to think I'm giving a leeway to people to misbehave. But I'm asking us, the social dynamics behind all these things, we should understand them. Then we can punish appropriately. And when we punish, we give punishment that allow, that's what they call a correctional center. Maybe we can help you. That's what it means, as against prison. So we've seen a lot. I mean, if you follow the CNN Man of the Year, something they do every year about giving, you see some people who were in jail, who came out and then became stars to their community and all. We can give those opportunities. Yes, they could have done terrible things. They want to live in the past. Our society is a society that is judgmental. We never let people forget the offenses they committed, whereas the people who commit worse offense are people put on TV, people put on pages of newspaper, voted all kinds of things. We know them. Granted spaces in church, giving chieftaincy titles. Is it not Nigeria somebody stole so much money and is being turbaned?
After all, God is often forgiving, often merciful.
That's what we say. But we don't apply to some people. We apply to the people that are big and rich. It's sad, but that's my view, my personal view. All the things that I've expressed, so it has nothing to do with any agency or anything.
Right.
But that's who I am.
And this also extends, does it extend, from your assessments to, your charge to government, especially when you look at the social, economic dimensions of these kinds of crime? Right.
No, you see, I'm not so very careful to talk about government because everything you say about government is always in as criticism. I've always said to people, palliatives cannot be the means of sustaining people's economic life. We need to look at our country. I said to people, if you give us good roads, good education, good hospitals where ordinary people can go, even if you like, put the central bank in the back of your house, Nigerians will not worry. But the things we do, we treat our people as if they're just there. The government should wake up and understand that they got elected on the basis of people wanting better life. Better life does not mean I want to drive a Rolls Royce. A better life means let me just live comfortably and live my life. My kids can go to school, I can go to hospitals and all things like that.
All right.
It's a long story.
Dr. Dokun Adedeji, thank you very much for your contributions. It's a long, discussion, but, somehow, thank you for taking out, some of the major issues on this very, very disturbing trend. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.